Thank you very much. It was very much as Monique described. At that first meeting, exactly at the coffee break, and I went over to Monique and I was thinking, why are you getting at me? And she said, I'm not being a naughty person. I just don't know what's going on. 2 years later, we were meeting in Geneva in January 2007. And I said to Monique, you've always been honest with me. Can I be honest with you? And she looked a bit startled. What's coming next? And I said, Monique, if I were in trouble, you would be the person I turn to first. So she's been a wonderful supporter. And I remember saying, again, if you'll allow me this indulgence, I remember telling a story about English grammar. That I had this thing with my sons. They read the back page of the newspaper first. And in the back page it would say, England have lost another football match. And I'd say, shouldn't it be England has lost another football match? And it was always England have lost. It was never England have won. Notice, it was always England have lost football match. So, and then we looked at the back pages, and if Arsenal have won, plural. I thought, this is bizarre. So look at the front page. My sons tend not to look at the front page of the newspaper. Look at the front page of the newspaper. It says, England is a constituent member of the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has voted, so it's singular. So, you know, if England's a football team, it's plural. If England's a country, it's singular. I thought, what about the middle of the paper? What about the London Symphony Orchestra? Is that more like a singular or a plural? It's London Symphony Orchestra last night has excelled itself. So it was singular. So I said to our commissioners, we are a disparate bunch of people. You could say we are plural. I'd like to think by the time we got to the end of our process, we would be single. It would be the commission thinks. And indeed it was. Indeed it is. We were single. We were a cohesive group. It was a rich experience for me, and as Monique has reflected, I think a rich experience for all of us. And we were singular. Bill Fagey, who was a member of the commission, and he said that somebody had written that Abraham Lincoln turned the United States from a plural noun to a singular. So I wasn't quite thinking it's such an exalted level, but we should have a singular voice. I think the second thing before I get it, this is very egalitarian. Normally the speaker has to stand up and everybody else can sit and sleep, but you've got to stand up too, so it's very egalitarian. It'll limit how long this goes on for, I should imagine. Before we began the Commission on Social Determinants of Health, given my commitment to evidence, we did a little inquiry as to what happens to most commissions. And it won't surprise you to know that about 95% of commissions sink without trace. Nothing happens. And of the remaining 5%, there may be a small number that get remembered for a while. Do you remember when the ILO produced a report on a fair globalization? Ron does. And did anything happen as a result of the ILO report? No, it's in the second category. A few people remember it, but nothing happened. You do remember the Brundtland Commission on Sustainable Development. We're going to have Rio Plus 20 next month. That's, you could say, Grohar and Brundtland did that. Her report, one thing led to another, and here we are, Rio Plus 20. So that's in a very small category. I think it's just possible that the Commission on Social Determinants of Health might make the transition from the second group to the first group. We had a resolution in 2009, Monique will remember, we had a recommendation to have a global conference on social determinants of health. The first World Conference on Social Determinants of Health was held in Rio de Janeiro in October last year. 126 countries were represented, 60 ministers of health, representatives from other major organizations. What some of the ministers said would not, in my mind, come under the rubric of social determinants of health, but that's all right. They were there and they were talking. Things are happening. And a number of countries have taken this on. I'll talk a bit about the English review. Brazil has been a champion for this. Chile was a champion for it. At long last, we're seeing some progress in India, Norway leading the charge among European countries, and so on. So a number of countries. And it's getting in the language. I said to Monique when we met this afternoon that Sunday, a week ago, 8 days ago, the Commonwealth Health Ministers have an annual meeting before the start of the World Health Assembly in Geneva, and I was asked to do the opening address at their meeting. And these ministers from 54 Commonwealth countries, these ministers were talking the language, causes of the causes, social determinants of health. And I could see Monique thinking, talk, what about action? She didn't have to say it, I could see the expression on her face. But in this unspoken dialogue we were having, I think talk's important. It's not enough, but it's important. The fact that we become part of the discourse is very important. I'm going to have to do something different because I'm trying. Firstly, I'm too far away, and second, I can't see what's up. As Monique said, we presented our report in 2008, and we said when we presented it that people had pushed us to make the economic case for action on social determinants of health, and we made the moral case. Your quote was indeed from the report, the toxic combination of poor social policies and programs, unfair economic arrangements and bad governance. And we said taking action on social determinants of health is a matter of social justice. One of the issues that got raised when we published the report and is being raised as I speak today, where's personal responsibility in all this? The man who's now our Secretary of State for Health in Britain raised that question when we published it. Where's personal responsibility in all this? I haven't said anything there about personal responsibility. And my response, and I met him, my response was personal responsibility is right at the heart. But we have to create the conditions for people to take control over their lives. It's all very well to say you have the freedom to do whatever you like. The freedom to wallow in poverty is not a freedom that's much prized. The freedom to be unemployed is not a freedom that's much prized. The freedom not to be educated is not one that people highly value. Create the conditions of employment, of lack of poverty, of education, and then people can take responsibility for their own health, as they should. Not up to us, but it is up to people who make policy to create the conditions for people to have the possibility to take control over their lives. So the freedom agenda, which has been hijacked by the political right, should be recovered because it's of fundamental importance. And Amartya Sen's ideas, he even came to one of our meetings, Amartya Sen's ideas about freedoms were very important in thinking about the conditions that give people fundamental freedoms.